All right, let me know if you can see me. Welcome back to What She Said Sports, everybody. This Nola girl checking back in. All right, so we got some breaking news. As you can see, we were planning to talk about Shedeur Sanders and how he's a proven leader, and it's evident, it's documented. Um, and there's multiple occasions on where he proved this leadership, and multiple occasions on where the players, leaders of the Browns, believe that he is a leader. Coach Prime is back at CU. Wanted to kind of see if we could get into that. Might push that to 10:35 because we got some good news. So we got the news that Stefanski was already fired. Now we got Harbaugh. I think his name is John Harbaugh because he has a brother, I think, over at another franchise. So I want to make sure the right Harbaugh has been fired. And it's Lamar Jackson's head coach of the Ravens. Now, why am I excited about that? I'm still hoarse, as y'all can tell. Because I'm out here campaigning for Lamar, pointing out the same thing about Lamar is what's happening to Shedeur, right? Pointing out that Lamar Jackson came into this league, just like in the pre-draft process with Shedeur, he was devalued already and defamed, predetermined. We don't want you. We don't value you. Same thing happened to Lamar Jackson years earlier, who actually won the Heisman. Lamar Jackson won the Heisman and was pushed down to number 32. If it were not for a black general manager on one of his last actions on his way out the door, stopping the slide, Lamar Jackson would have slid probably just as far as Shedeur. Why is this the case? Why do I know that this is a possibility? Because we learned, since we've been following Shedeur in Cleveland, that Jimmy Haslam had a black GM named Sashi Brown, who he fired because Sashi Brown wanted to draft Lamar Jackson. And I'm like, okay, what the hell is going on? Everybody has talked about over the last couple of days since the loss of the game, self-included, Lamar Jackson is vindicated. This is not on him. Baltimore constantly losing when they can advance to the next level and get to the Super Bowl with a two-time MVP is not on Lamar Jackson. People talked about Harbaugh being fired, but before that, people were already talking about how Lamar Jackson is one of the most hated, no fault of his own, that people in the NFL orbit choose to hate on Lamar Jackson. And we have talked about his athleticism being similar to Michael Vick, having the ability to elevate the game. And just like we heard Myles Garrett say about Shedeur, nobody else is making these throws. I was looking at Lamar Jackson's number. Nobody else is making it, putting up numbers like that. Lamar Jackson put up 4,000 yards, I think, in the air and another 1,000 on. That's why Lamar Jackson is hated. That's why Lamar Jackson was devalued. That's also why Shedeur Sanders was devalued, because nobody was putting up his numbers in college. Shedeur Sanders was robbed of the Heisman. They couldn't rob Lamar, but they robbed him. They robbed him his pockets by pushing him down in the draft. His counterparts like Josh Allen, when they were drafted in the same first round above the top 10, they made $30 million. Lamar only made $9 million over 4 years. So Lamar Jackson has been robbed multiple times. He won his third MVP, putting up 4,100 yards in the air and another 900 or so on the ground. And they stole it and gave it to Josh Allen. They taunt Lamar saying he can't win the big games because John Harbaugh and his staff decide, even after the front office spent a gaggle of money to bring in receivers, talent for Lamar to throw to, they want to go back to the old standard. Mark Andrews, and he lost the AFC game by 2 points, just like the rookie missed the kick for 2 points. This is not a coincidence. People are going to say, oh, it's the rookie, it's okay. No, it's not. This is the NFL. Young Hoku in Atlanta was fired because he missed a critical kick. These people get paid millions, sometimes double-digit millions, sometimes triple-digit millions, because this is a professional league. You're supposed to be among the best. But see, here's the problem. It wasn't just on the kicker. What Baltimore has been doing is making sure, just like Stefanski with them raggedy Wildcats, that Lamar Jackson was not impactful on winning the game. Going to Mark Andrews instead of Isaiah Likely. That was an epic fail. It was no accident. You don't bring in a gaggle of talent and go to who you had before that could not get it done. Jim Harbaugh should have been fired after that AFC game for poor personnel choice. The same reason Stefanski should have been fired. It's not a coincidence the Browns are considering the Ravens offensive coordinator who's been sabotaging Lamar for years. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Jimmy Haslam better listen to the fans or he's going to be forced to sell that franchise. We will not sit up here and be silent about Lamar and silent about what happened to Shedeur in the draft, in Cleveland in his rookie year, and we not here for it. In 2026, you better best believe we have connected the dots and we have receipts. John Harbaugh should have been fired. He didn't protect Lamar. Lamar's own lineman, number 77, crushed Lamar's ankle. How many penalties did you see in that game? Just like in Cleveland. The script in Cleveland is the same script in Baltimore. It is not a coincidence that there are black quarterbacks at QB1 in both franchises. Not a coincidence that now that Harbaugh has been fired, the Browns owner want to go and salvage an offensive coordinator that sabotaged Lamar to come sabotage Shedeur. Absolutely not. No. And I see what's happening with Jaden Daniels. We talked about it last year. Now they want to take his OC and send him elsewhere. What is Jaden Daniels guilty of? Being a rookie phenom like CJ Stroud and putting the team on their backs. And in their sophomore year, they either get injured, sacked excessively, or the team's torn apart, so it makes it harder for them to get back. You're not supposed to be making it difficult for your own quarterback to succeed. But this is what's happening in the NFL. It's been happening to Lamar. It's happening to Shedeur. And I said multiple times that what's happening to Shedeur is happening to Lamar. It's happening to CJ Stroud. It's happening to Pat Mahomes now. It's happening to Jaden Daniels. It's happening to Cam Ward. The goal is to suppress the black quarterback. I took a list. I took a look at the list of coaches that have been fired. It's crazy how Harbaugh was fired and his quarterback is black. Callahan was fired. His quarterback is black. Stefanski was fired. His quarterback is black. Arizona coach was fired. His quarterback is black. Everybody but Dabo. Raheem Morris, his QB1 is black. So we are disrupting the QB1s. The NFL, these teams are not supporting QB1s. Instead, they're making it difficult for them to succeed, and Harbaugh was one of them. Harbaugh was a head coach when Lamar Jackson was pushed down to number 32 after winning the Heisman and being a phenom of a quarterback. And what did Baltimore set out to do? To turn Lamar Jackson into a goddamn pocket passer. What did we see Kevin Stefanski try to do to Shedeur over the last 2 games? Turn him into a goddamn pocket passer to suppress these black quarterback athleticism and God-given DNA. Because nobody else is making throws like Shedeur Sanders. Nobody else is putting up numbers like Lamar Jackson. Harbaugh should have been fired. But the problem is, just like you see Haslam pining away, trying to get the offensive coordinator who failed Lamar Jackson to come fail Shedeur Sanders, that's the problem. In addition to perpetuating stereotypes that black QB1s cannot be leaders of teams. And what did Andrew Berry say yesterday that I said I was not pleased with him? Well, we haven't found our leader yet. That's a damn lie. With black quarterbacks being 16 this year and it being a historic year to expect the racism, you would be remiss or naive to not think that there's racism involved in holding back 16 black quarterbacks and making sure they don't get to 17, 18, 19, 20 black starting quarterbacks. Can you guess who number 17 was? Shedeur Sanders. And look how dirty they did him. And one of the things I'm observing, even with these coaching changes, it's meant to disrupt these black quarterbacks because that's exactly what happened in college. Virginia Tech coach got fired. Who was his quarterback? Kyron Jones. UCLA quarterback got fired. Who was his quarterback? Our head coach got fired. Who was his quarterback? Nico, black. Look at what happened in Colorado. Colorado had 3 black quarterbacks. And they tried to suppress all 3. And for a black quarterback to come and visit, they gave Cater Salter 12 reps and ran off a black QB prospect to Texas Tech. Where did Lane Kiffin leave from? Where there are 2 black quarterbacks at Ole Miss. DJ Lagerway coach was fired. Not a coincidence. Not a coincidence. Black coaches are being moved out to disrupt the black QB1. Oh, the new coach is going to want to get his own QB1. So what does that mean for Shedeur? What does it mean for Lamar? What does it mean for Cam Ward? John Harbaugh, should have been fired. I'm going to call him by his last name because I don't want to mix up his brother. Harbaugh should have been fired. After that AFC game, it was disgraceful to put the ball in Mark Andrews' hands when it was proven years earlier that he wasn't the guy. I'm going to read to you what is on my screen from how many years ago? 5 years ago. It said if the Ravens want Lamar to be a better passer. And why are they saying that? I said Lamar Jackson won the Heisman. Did I not, right? He don't need your help with being a better passer. He put up 4,000 passing yards. Anybody putting up 4,000 passing yards, 3,000 passing yards, 2,000 passing, they don't need your help as a passer. They use that as a guise to try to turn Lamar into a pocket passer to smother his athleticism so he won't run. Because nobody else is putting up numbers on the ground and in the air like Lamar Jackson. So he's a threat. He's a threat because he can elevate the game. And that should be something the NFL is proud of. And maybe if Lamar Jackson is white, they would be, but he's black. And I don't have to tell you, and if you don't know, a simple Google search, the NFL is guilty of devaluing black quarterbacks, going all the way back to Willie Thrower, coming all the way up to Shedeur Sanders and Jalen Milroe in the 2025 draft. And the season just ended. And the shenanigans, the racism is starting up ahead of the 2026 draft, where several black prominent top QB draft picks have decided to stay in school. Dante Moore, if you have eligibility and Oregon trying to push you out that door, you better wonder why. You better wonder why. Because if they trying to pair you up with Shedeur, and if they trying to pair you up with Deshaun, it's not going to be good for you. Trinidad Shambliss wants to go back to school, but the NCAA is playing games with his waiver, even though they granted Diego Pavia's waiver. The games, the shenanigans, the racism has already started ahead of the 2026 draft. So it should let you know, going back to when Shedeur was #1 overall coming out of college, that he was a target. They suppressed him, kept him off the Heisman stage so that he would be #1 overall. Lamar should have been #1 overall, and he was number 32 and would have been devalued just like Shedeur if it was not for a black GM. And it's disgusting that the owner of the Browns, Haslam, fired Sashi Brown because he wanted to draft Lamar Jackson. That's how they kept the Cleveland Browns from drafting Lamar Jackson, firing the black GM so he don't draft a black quarterback. The New York Giants had a black GM and was never allowed to draft a black quarterback in the first round. So it says a lot about the GM role if you black, right? It explains why Andrew Berry is over there talking about they don't have their leader in the quarterback yet. That is an absolute lie. It should tell you that the racism is already in place against Shedeur Sanders. And we are months away from OTAs or mandatory camp because he's a veteran now. He don't even know what team he gonna be on. And people say, oh, Andrew Berry is just posturing because the media is going to do this or do that if he commits to Shedeur. To hell with the media. Shedeur deserves to know that he's QB1 in Cleveland. I don't give a damn about the media. Just like Lamar, the Browns failed to protect Shedeur. The Ravens failed to protect Lamar Jackson. The Commanders failed to protect Jaden Daniels. Tennessee failed to protect Cam Ward. Harbaugh should have been fired. Trying to force Lamar into a pocket passer. Stefanski was fired, trying to force Shedeur to be a pocket passer. These head coaches of these teams are already trying to suppress the next draft class of black quarterbacks. Dante Moore, listed as the quarterback to come out in this class with the most upside. Why is he number 2? Is it that difficult to tolerate having a black quarterback be number 1 overall year over year over year? If that's what it is, that's what it is. But manipulating it is not what should be happening. Lamar Jackson has been sabotaged by his own head coach, his own offensive coordinator. Just like Shedeur was sabotaged by Stefanski and Tommy Reese. He need to be fired too. But no, Haslam want to entertain bringing the saboteur from Baltimore to Cleveland. When the hell he gonna learn? I see he don't know when to quit. Fans are connecting the dots and seeing what's going on. And I told you that's what was going to happen. This virus is spreading. And now people are connecting the dots and they can see that this is a league-wide epidemic, an attack on black QB1s by any means necessary. Having your own O-lineman to crush your black quarterback QB1's ankle. Having your own tight end to crush the throwing hand of your black QB1 in Cleveland. To rip apart the Washington Commanders because Jaden Daniels is so good. He put his team on his back in his rookie year and took them damn near to the Super Bowl, just like C.J. Stroud. And his sophomore year was Jaden Daniels' sophomore year, and they didn't protect Jaden Daniels. And the Washington Commanders were already forced to sell their team to get new ownership for mismanagement. And now they back at it. This is disgusting. If you're going to draft black quarterbacks, you have no right to try to suppress their skill set because you know they can elevate the game. That's corruption. Harbaugh should have been fired for trying to turn Lamar into a goddamn pocket passer. So quarterbacks they prefer can't keep up. So they can have justification to pass over Shedeur, pass over Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe's comps, and I have said this before, and the moment he get out here and can play, people going to be like the same way they were with Malik Willis, which is why Malik Willis is behind Jordan Love, stacking up black QB1s together, which is what they want to do with Dante Moore in Cleveland, stack him over there with Shedeur, who's already stacked up with Deshaun. By any means necessary to smother and suppress the talent of black quarterbacks. Whether you defame them, devalue them, stack them up together, get them injured, sacked excessively, their own teammates, causing injuries, allowing them to be roughed up with no penalties caused by the refs, which means the refs are in on it. Lamar Jackson had a back contusion because he was kneed in the back. Name me one white quarterback kneed in the goddamn back. Fines were handed out for roughing up the passer, but not against Shedeur. Harbaugh should have been fired. He's one of the longest tenured coaches from 2008 in his mentality. Seems to have perpetuated that Lamar Jackson was not worthy of being supported and protected as a QB1, and they seem to take some type of pleasure in causing injury and harm to Shedeur and Lamar and C.J. Stroud and Jada Daniels and Caleb Williams and Bryce Young and Justin Fields and Jordan Love, because I watched them hit the hell out of him. But watch Myles Garrett when he sacked Joe Burrow. This is why Joe Burrow gets turf toe and not a back contusion, because they don't rough him up because he's white. Harbaugh should have been fired. He didn't protect his own quarterback. I said it, I don't know how many times. After the AFC game, I said Lamar Jackson needs to ask himself, and Shedeur better ask these same questions. Lamar Jackson better ask himself, do the Ravens want to win with him? After the Steelers lost, the answer is no. I have a clip of Lamar Jackson's press conference. They don't extend these quarterbacks any grace. They're expected to get on the podium and be harassed, but can't be honest, can't be transparent. They can't issue accountability. They have to just say, oh well. But then they get called lazy, saying that Lamar Jackson falls asleep in meetings, all because he has a grill and he wears stiff braids. To hell with you. Again, perpetuating stereotypes against people that are different from you. He can't lead. We don't know how to market him. Bullshit. But you keep Ben Roethlisberger name in your mouth. You keep Brett Favre name in your mouth. You got Cam Newton thinking he was the problem. No, he's black. That's why he was a victim and a target of Bountygate, just like Frank Gore. Harbaugh should have been fired. Lamar Jackson, listening to him talk, he's just a great young man. And he loves to play ball. And he's a phenom of an athlete. And there are a lot of phenom QBs that are athletes. The black ones get shunned by their own head coach, get injured by their own O-lineman or tight end. You really want me to stand up here and tell you I think it's a coincidence that Mark Andrews caused the AFC championship and he's white? No, it's not. You want me to tell you it's the coincidence that Shedeur Sanders threw that ball to Sal Canales in the end zone for a touchdown and he let it slide right down his body? And he's white? No, it's not. You want me to tell you it's the coincidence that number 77 that crushed Lamar's ankle is white? No, it's not. You want me to tell you it's a coincidence that Blake Whiteheart, a tight end, just like Mark Andrews, crushed Shedeur Sanders' hand and ripped the nail off of it? And he's white? No. I'm not going to do that. Just like I'm not going to tell you in the Celebration Bowl, it wasn't a coincidence that at two HBCU schools playing against each other, there was a white tight end that dropped the game-winning pass, the game-tying-up pass, a critical pass in the end zone. You want me to tell you that's a coincidence? It's not. Do you want me to tell you it's a coincidence that Brenda Bates was hot potato in the football in the end zone when Shedeur threw it to him? No, it's not. He's white. You think it's a coincidence that the kicker who kicked the game against the Steelers, that it was put into his hands to try to seal the deal and win the game, and he's white and it didn't happen? No. If you watch the last drive of Pittsburgh, Lamar talks about the 55 seconds. They practiced it multiple times. This was not anything new. This wasn't anything that they just grasped out of the air. Just like it wasn't a coincidence that Kevin Stefanski kept taking Shedeur out of the equation to make a touchdown with those raggedy Wildcats to lessen the impact for Lamar. In that last drive, they kept causing penalties to lessen the impact for Shedeur to win or score or to advance. They kept taking him out so he couldn't be a part of the equation, or the degree of difficulty to score was increased. There are NFL teams who are making it harder to get to the Super Bowl because they don't want to win with a black QB1. And if you think you're going to draft all of this elite black talent and stick it on the bench and the fans don't say nothing, oh, you got another thing coming. Because you have black fans. And now the same people who were cheering for Shedeur, that was a Baltimore Ravens fan cheering for Shedeur. I bet that same Ravens fan is speaking out about what's happening to Lamar. And that's what they underestimated, the fan base. They underestimated 20 million people who did not spend their time and their money on these subscriptions, these apps, and these games to watch racial politics play out. We are not interested, and we will not be silent. Harbaugh should have been fired. because he intentionally blew that AFC game by choosing to try to make Mark Andrews the hero, because the front office brought in all of this talent to build around Lamar. But he bypassed all of the talent the front office brought in to build around Lamar, and went back to who he wanted. And who he wanted failed, and he coddled it. Just like Harbaugh coddled that rookie going into the tunnel in Atlanta when Young Hoku got fired from the Falcons and then went to the Giants, and I do believe he got fired over there. Nobody coddled him. Nobody coddled him. They expected him to understand that he had one job. But the white kicker gets coddled. There should have never been any question about Harbaugh keeping his job. And he should not fail up anywhere else. And neither should Kevin Stefanski, because both are guilty of trying to suppress Black elite starting quarterbacks and choosing to lose rather than win. Strategizing to lose. Stefanski is guilty of the same. Andrew Berry brought in all of this talent on the O-line that can play on the left or the right, including Cornelius Lucas, who was paid $5 million to be a right tackle or a left tackle, to replace Jack Conklin. And instead, Stefanski decided to go with KT Levingston, who was a third string, and elevate him over a $5 million second string, undermining Andrew Berry, allowing 72 and 68, who also Cornelius Lucas could have replaced. But I don't want to play with the guys the front office brought in. I want to play with the guys that's going to allow the quarterback to get hurt. And that's exactly what happened to Lamar by his own teammates. People said it after that Steelers game. The Ravens have failed Lamar so many times. People were apologizing to Lamar. They act like he wasn't even human. Until about a week ago, when they asked him how he felt about the media, the same media that tried to destroy Shedeur, trying to destroy him, lying on him, talking about he's high when he's out getting food. You don't know him. That he's sleeping in the back of the room. They said the same bull crap about Shedeur. Harbaugh is guilty just like Stefanski, and both should be banned from the NFL. There's no place for racism in professional American football. And that's what we're seeing in Washington, in Tennessee, in Tampa, asking Todd Bowles, should he keep his job? Why the hell would he? The fact that Stefanski has 2 coaches of the year awards, how the hell many does Mike Tomlin have? But you knew going into the game against Baltimore that you was going to dismiss Mike Tomlin and not renew his contract. But you had no plans for Stefanski. The racism has to stop. People are getting hurt. People are getting injured. And it needs to cost some people their careers. It shouldn't cost these Black quarterbacks their livelihood and their health. Nor should it cost them their mental. But that's what's happening. And the refs are in on it because they're not calling roughing the passer against the Black quarterback who's being roughed up while everybody's being gentle with Joe Burrow. That's why Joe Burrow gets turf toe and Shedeur gets his hands crushed by his own tight end. This is not a coincidence. It seems like there are people within the NFL that play on the field, that are the coaches, some of the refs, some of the GMs, players working together to uphold white supremacy in leadership, whether it's the quarterback or the GM or the offensive coordinator or the defensive coordinator. That's what's going on here. And the Black starting quarterback has to pay the price because he got to go sit behind Jordan Love. And I'm talking about Malik Willis, who when Jordan Love got injured, and look at how he got injured. Look at how Bryce Young got hit. That doesn't happen to anybody else. Did you see Aaron Rodgers get hit like that? Did you see Aaron Rodgers get forcibly hit in the back enough that it will cause a contusion. No, they don't mind bringing pain to Shedeur. They don't mind bringing pain to Lamar. And they constantly try to disprove them and say they're not leaders. Lamar Jackson is the leader of the Ravens and has been. It has been undermined by the league he plays in, by his own head coach, his own offensive coordinator, and his entire O-line. And if somebody on his O-line was quiet and they saw what was happening, they are also complicit. Now it's Jaden Daniels' turn again. Are they going to cheat Bryce Young? Are they going to cheat CJ Stroud? Are they going to cheat Jalen Hurts? Because they clearly don't want him to get back to the Super Bowl. I mean, they cause all kind of friction within the Philadelphia Eagles, who usually runs like clockwork. Meanwhile, I'm trying to prop up Tyler Shaw and Jackson Dart over Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur played the toughest stretch of games out of any rookie QB and put up 1,400 yards over 7 starts. So if you 7 times 7, 7 plus 7 is 14. So you take 1,400 times 2. What's that? 28? And take half of it for the rest of the games that's left to get to 18. That's 4 more games. Take half of that and add it to 28. And that's the yards Shedeur would have put up. Projected. Absolutely. But they held Shedeur back so he would not be in the offensive rookie of the year conversation or rookie of the year conversation. That's why he was held back and allowed to play 7 games, because Tyler Shaw played 9. Cam put up 3,100 yards. They said he has the ability to be Superman, but they want him to be Clark Kent. They want Shedeur to be Clark Kent. They want Lamar to be Clark Kent, but it's okay for Josh Allen to be Superman. The racism got to stop. It's going to upend the league, or it's just going to blow like a volcano. You choose. This is an interview I want you to listen to now that the season is over. And we know Myles Garrett spoke highly of Shedeur and said he wanted Shedeur to take ownership and the leader, being the leader of the team. And I noticed Shedeur Sanders actually pushed away from the leader label on his last press conference. This is after Myles Garrett said he wanted Shedeur to take ownership as being the leader. Myles is the leader of the defense. And he knew Shedeur had the ability to be QB1, but he also knows he has been a leader. Remember the kicker? Remember the kicker missed a critical kick and Shedeur walked over to him and talked to him? And what happened in this last game? Shedeur was coaching up and encouraging the kicker and telling everybody he's going to make this. He's been working for this. He remembers how they doubted him. That's a leader. And yet, Andrew Berry or Haslam, Andrew Berry on behalf of Haslam doesn't see it. So Shedeur is expected to go back through round 2 and being devalued in place again. And Haslam wanted to bring over the OC that failed Lamar to the Browns, ensures that that's what will happen to Shedeur. Fans not going to let that happen. We have receipts. We see it. We see what's happening. We see the suppression of the black athlete as QB1 because this is a historic year. And why is it historic? Because the black starting quarterback can become the majority with Shedeur at number 17 in the draft. Or as QB1 with Cleveland, adding to becoming the majority in the season of all 32 starting quarterbacks, which means when you turn on your TV, you're going to see Lamar versus Shedeur. You're going to see Bryce Young versus another black quarterback. You're going to see Caleb Williams versus Jordan Love. You're going to see a lot of that. And it seems like everything that happened to Lamar to get him injured so he couldn't play and miss several games was a part of that. For Shedeur Sanders to be held back because they tried to get him injured, but they didn't succeed. See, the nemesis was defeated in Cleveland. The nemesis was defeated in Cleveland because Stefanski didn't think he was getting fired, and Haslam did not want to part ways with Stefanski, but the fans matter. You damn right they do. And black people are fans. And you damn right we matter. And no, we're not okay And a lot of people that are not black are not okay with Lamar Jackson being turned into a pocket passer or Shedeur being turned into a check down king. The fans are speaking. People say, I don't know why they hate Lamar so much. Then you don't understand racism. And that's a shame for you to be an adult, a functioning adult, and you refuse to see racism or you don't understand it. Like that's just a shame. This is a clip of Lamar Jackson. One second. After his press conference explaining, they always know the guys that they're talking to. He calls the reporter by name. Take a listen. Hold on 1 second. Here's Lamar. I don't know. I think. Oh, here it is. Okay, I thought I couldn't get it. All right.
You know what's the emotion, Jameson? Like that's.
Context is what is the how are you feeling? What is the emotion you're feeling after the loss to the Steelers?
You know what's the emotion, Jameson? Like that's. We did all that, man, to come up short, bro. Devastating, furious, all type of. I don't know. I'm everywhere with it right now.
Lamar, when you take the field for that final drive, I mean, how confident that were you at that point that you were going to get in a leading position in field goal range?
Extremely confident. I told my guys, let's be legendary. Let's put the drive together, 55 seconds. We practiced this, 55 seconds. 3 times out. I believe we had 3 times out. We had great field position, I believe, I felt like we had it. We was only down, 2? We would have won the game, and then we had that penalty too. We were having a lot of penalty drive together, 55 seconds. We practiced this, 55 seconds. 3 times out. I believe we had 3 times out. We had great field position, I believe.
So he's saying they had 3 timeouts. They didn't use them. They had good field position, but all of the penalties. Same thing with Shedeur. All of the penalties that the old lineman kept calling to push the team back to kill the drive. Listen to Lamar talk about this. This is the same thing that's happened to Shedeur in Cleveland. And I'm like, Haslam, you can't be serious. It is not random that you want to get the offensive coordinator who failed Lamar, sabotaged Lamar, to come to Cleveland to sabotage Shedeur. This is why Haslam needs to be forced to sell that team. And it won't necessarily benefit Shedeur, but this is why Shedeur should be traded. But what NFL team is quarterback friendly right now?
I felt like we had it. We was only down, 2? We would have won the game, and then we had that penalty too. We were having a lot of penalties, like we kept stopping drives, but I'm proud of my guys, because we kept overcoming, we kept overcoming adversity, and situations like this, divisional game, it be like that sometimes, so yeah.
How hard is it sometimes, it gets left in the hands of the kicker, when you guys kept battling?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know how many times it had to come down to it being a kicker, to win the game for us. Probably years in the past,
So he talks about the penalties that they sustained. The same thing happened with Shedeur when he got in motion, when he was getting ready to drive them down the field. They kept calling false starts, and that's what exactly happened with the Steelers. So that lets you know the Ravens went into the game intending to lose. That's exactly what it lets you know. They didn't get the wild idea. They didn't get the wild idea to start calling erroneous random penalties. They could have did that in the beginning of the game. They did it when it mattered. They didn't use any timeouts. They left it in the kicker's hand, just like they left it in Mark Andrews' hand. Why you didn't put it in Lamar's hand? People say they could have threw. The Ravens seemingly went into that game to lose, just like the AFC game. Mark Andrews proved in the AFC game, well before halftime, that he was not the go-to guy because he kept dropping the passes. And he did exactly that in the end zone. Who else did that? Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy showed in practice before the last game he wasn't running all out. He wasn't raising his hands to catch the ball. He had no effort. That's exactly what he did in the game. So the Browns put Jerry Jeudy in place so Shedeur would have one less reliable target. Harbaugh, the offensive coordinator for the Ravens, have people on their team. They didn't protect their quarterback. They didn't protect field position. They didn't make adjustments, just like Stefanski. And they left it up to a kicker. And I'm not a kicker, so I don't know if, like Mark Andrews, who just, I know how to drop a ball and make it look like I'm whatever. I'm not a kicker, so I don't know. But what happened in Cleveland? The holder of the ball took the ball and threw it away so they couldn't score, so they couldn't tie up the game with the Bills. This is rigging and fixing games. When the quarterback is a black starting quarterback and he's not number 2 behind another black starting quarterback, the game seemingly is rigged or fixed so they can lose. There's several playoff games coming up. Keep your eyes open. Do they want Jalen Hurts to go back? How far do they want Bryce Young to make it? How far do they want C.J. Stroud to make it? Because they made his sophomore season a living hell, just like Jaden Daniels. And now they're over there tearing Jaden Daniels' team apart. So he can't get back. Why draft black quarterbacks? Because you don't want them to go off and start their own league. Shout out to Chidozie, who got signed by the Canadian football team in Montreal. Congratulations. Just because you seemingly fit somewhere because you have the skill set to play American football doesn't mean you belong in the NFL. That's right. If you're a black quarterback, and yes, your skill set fits American football, you can elevate American football, you can make it exciting, you can win, do you belong? Seemingly the answer is no. I will keep paying attention to what's happening with Trinidad Shamblers and the NCAA intentionally, seemingly delaying his waiver to go back to school because he would also be competition for the Manning kid, which is the reason they are suppressing Shedeur in Cleveland. For a kid who's in college, who has to play another year, who is not proven. But when Shedeur is proven, they say he's not.
Classic style of play. Again, I can't speak to how others view him.
All right, this is the day 3 press conference on the draft. Now that the season is over, I want you to listen to what they said about Shedeur with the entire season ahead of them. Now that the season is behind, is gone, and we had a chance to see for ourselves, I want you to listen to what they said about Shedeur, who had 4 years of scouting, won the Johnny Unitas Award. Listen to what they said about him.
Or classic style of play. Again, I can't speak to how others view him.
Without divulging maybe too much of the conversations, when you did call him to tell him that you were picking him, just what was the message to him and what was maybe his message to you guys? Because I'm sure, again, it was a disappointing slide from somebody who expected to get picked early first round.
I think our message to him, it's really all this. It's like, look, got to come in and work, and you got to come in and compete. That's the message. Nothing's given. Given the nature of the weekend for him, relative to, let's say, external expectation versus what happened, we did tell him that it really doesn't matter where you picked, it's what you do from that point forward.
Is that true? Is it true that it didn't matter where Shedeur was drafted, that it mattered what he did going forward? Is that true? No, that's a lie. Shedeur was held back. Mary Cabot was proud to tell us. Oh, Dylan got first team reps with the offense and the defense. He was rewarded with that. Dylan didn't prove a damn thing. He was just the body that they used to put in front of Shedeur as a wedge. Shedeur proved everything, and it didn't matter. Shedeur is their QB1, but they're still looking for their leader because the quarterback position is not solidified. And all Haslam seems to be doing is going to get people who sabotage Lamar to come sabotage Shedeur. The fans matter.
Because that's a reality for all the guys that we selected this weekend. In terms of his reaction, I just say it was probably a mixture of gratitude, relief, and determination. That would probably be the best way to characterize it. But he's certainly ready to go.
Andrew,
He's certainly
because
ready
you
to
guys
go.
were-
All right, so I want y'all to read what Cleveland Browns have said about Shedeur Sanders. I mean, Myles Garrett, the leader of the defense, leader of the team, the face of the team. I want you to understand, he already has Shedeur as the leader, but yet somehow Andrew Berry, on behalf of Haslam, doesn't see it. And now that we know Haslam is trying to bring in the saboteur of Lamar Jackson to Cleveland, what does it say to you? Tell me in the comments what it says to you that Shedeur is a proven leader on more than one occasion. The leader of the team, of the defense, sees it, Myles Garrett, and has encouraged Shedeur to take that leadership role. What does it say to you that Haslam was non-committal on a proven leader, a proven winner? Shedeur put up 393 yards in one game while he was being held back. There are 18 games in the season. If you take 350 passing yards times 18 games, that's 6,300 passing yards. And he did more than that while he was being held back without being developed by the Browns. 6,300 yards. That puts Shedeur above Lamar. Do you understand what I'm saying? And when we checked in the season, it was only Shedeur and Dak Prescott putting up 393 and 400 yards in a game. Shedeur was doing pro-level throws in a preseason game with 0 first-team reps, making surgical throws. Myles Garrett was correct. No one else is making those throws. So why would the Cleveland Browns want to dismiss someone who's proven to win, who's proven to lead? Probably the same reason that Haslam fired Sashi Brown, a Black Harvard grad, as GM, so he does not draft Lamar Jackson. 4,000 yards, 4,100 passing, 1,000 rushing. So now with Stefanski out the way, you should be able to see much clearer who the problem is, who's keeping up the racism, who's suppressing the Black quarterback, who chose to hire Stefanski even though he wasn't a coach, and why he was so reluctant to part ways with Stefanski. Because like Harbaugh, they were suppressing Black phenom starting quarterbacks. That's why. So this is Myles Garrett statement, basically. It said Cleveland Browns Myles Garrett has been very supportive of rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders, praising his confidence, work ethic, maturity, and impressive throws, even calling him QB1 and encouraging him to take ownership as a leader, showing talent. What it says, showing talent, showing belief in his potential despite some tough losses, despite being sabotaged. Showing belief in his potential despite being sabotaged by his own head coach, who was reluctantly fired and is being painted as a victim. If I hear that conversation one more time, and we're going to talk about this tonight, that Stefanski didn't want Deshaun Watson to work there, I don't give a damn what Stefanski wanted. That is not his team. And people are saying that the Deshaun Watson trade was the worst trade in the history of the NFL. Who made it? Why they not calling the owners out? Because that's who made it. Haslam told Barry, go get me Deshaun Watson. So why is Stefanski taking it out on Deshaun? He's not. The question is, what the hell really was the reason Deshaun Watson was given $230, but kept out the way? Suppressed. His skill set didn't leave because he left the state of Texas and came to the state of Ohio. I don't want to hear anything about Stefanski, who works there. That is not his team, who didn't want Deshaun to come there. Stefanski should have went get another job, but nobody else was interested in hiring him because he's not a real coach. And it seems that those 2 Coaches of the Year awards that Mike Tomlin earned but do not have were bought and paid for, like Josh Allen's MVP, which was stolen from Lamar Jackson. All of the abuse and suppression and discrimination and humiliation and devaluing that these black quarterbacks have to endure. Fans are seeing this, and we are not happy about this. And the fans make this go around. And black fans matter. If Stefanski didn't want to work with Deshaun Watson, then he should have went get another job if somebody would have hired him. But I suspect he still worked there because nobody else was interested in him because the Giants already rejected him because he's not a goddamn head coach. But what he did seem willing to do was suppress Deshaun and suppress Shedeur. And now Haslam want to go get the OC who suppressed Lamar. You try. It's going to be a long 2026. So I'm going to check the comments to see what y'all are saying. The question I asked, hold on one second. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Brian Flores as well, too. If you're just not joining us, Brian Harbaugh, whatever his first name is, Harbaugh in the Ravens camp, finally got fired, should have been fired, failed at trying to suppress Lamar as a pocket passer, but did rob Lamar, the Ravens, the fan base, of an AFC championship and playoff activity this season by seemingly strategizing to lose games. And they lost both games by only 2 points. And as Lamar pointed out, they had 3 timeouts. Players were triggering penalties to kill the drive and move the team further out of field goal range. And yet there were no adjustments. And they didn't protect the quarterback. So, good riddance. And if he fails up somewhere, there must be another quarterback that they're going to send him the target. But we're going to be right here. We're going to call it out. And shout out to Myles Garrett. With the way it seems that they intimidate players in Cleveland and retaliate against players in Cleveland that show support for Shedeur Sanders. Shout out to Myles Garrett for still using his voice to speak what is obvious, that Shedeur is QB1 because nobody else is making these throws. And that he should take ownership as a leader, but I know why he won't. Because the entire, I would say about 75% of the players that he played with are not committed and seemingly are willing to do Stefanski's bidding. And they all need to be dismissed. You can't lead people who set you up to fail or get physically harmed. And if those people still work there, they don't want Shedeur to be successful. But we're going to be right here. And I'm going to just say this. I don't know what the hell happened after that last game. And we're going to talk about this tonight. When Shedeur walked out that field, he was happy. When he got to that podium, it looked like something happened. I don't know what the hell happened into that locker room. I don't know what happened. And Jerry Jeudy took to the internet talking about, ha, 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 if y'all only knew. I'm going to just say it right now. I don't know what happened. But Shedeur's demeanor walking off the field was of joy and jubilance. And coming to the podium, he looked shook. And Jerry Jeudy got something he want to laugh about on the internet. If we only knew, I don't know what the hell happened in that locker room. But the truth will come out. And again, we're going to be right here. Yes, Baltimore just fired Harbaugh. Absolutely. And long overdue. People came in here saying Lamar is leaving. It said Harbaugh had to go because from the crossbody slant throw in the red zone to Andrews, he was the coach's call. It's that very difficult catch on an awkward spiral. He wasn't going to catch it. I don't give a damn what you did to it. Buy Harbaugh, right? Exactly. Buy Harbaugh, buy Stefanski. Get your rags and get the hell on. And hopefully they don't fail up nowhere else to ruin another starting black quarterback's career or bench another black quarterback so they're not a starter. Absolutely. Goodbye. The NFL needs to rid itself. Once again, there is no place in American professional football for racism against black quarterbacks and black athletes, black GMs, black head coaches. None. As of January 2026, NFL teams that fired head coaches after the 2025 season include Arizona Cardinals. They have 2 black quarterbacks. Jonathan Gannon. Cleveland Browns, 2 black quarterbacks. Kevin Stefanski. Las Vegas Raiders, 1 black quarterback. Pete Carroll. And Atlanta Falcons, 2 black quarterbacks. Emory and Michael Penix Jr. Tennessee Titans, 1 black quarterback. Brian Callahan was fired. New York Giants, Brian Daboll. He should have been fired as well as the GM, Joe Schoen. The Giants will regret not firing Joe Schoen. Mark my words. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then now, Harbaugh, 6 head coaches fired with 6 black QB1s out of 7. Daboll is what is gone, but Dart is the starter. Even though Russell Wilson was there and he started the season, Dart was still the starter for the season. So technically, you could say all of them. I mean, technically, you can because the new Giants coach will likely impact Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. So technically, you could say every coach that was fired. It seems the goal is to bring in a new coach and stand behind the excuse of we want to get our own quarterback. So you're going to devalue all of the black quarterbacks in Arizona, Cleveland, Vegas, Atlanta, Tennessee, and Baltimore, and New York. You see how that works? You see how that works? So let's see who fails up. We'll be right here. Hey, how you doing, Tina? How you doing? It said the illest show on the planet. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Happy Tuesday. How you doing? It said this is how you cap off your day. Favorite podcast of the cocktail. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you so much. Which cocktail are you having? We already talked about the what was it? The prickly pear. That's the one I got on my list. And Long Island iced tea. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? It said, did everyone hear Jason Lloyd? Who is Jason? Now, you're going to have to tell us. We don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to look it up real fast. I don't know who that is. Let's see. Who is Jason Lloyd? Don't know. Oh, yeah. We'll look at that tonight. All right. It said, Isaac Newsom is responsible for drafting Lamar. Right. And they fired Sashi Brown. So he could not draft Lamar. So can I really just fire Andrew Berry because I don't want him to hire a black head coach? Because Brian Flores' name popped up as somebody to be the coach in Cleveland. But bringing over anybody from Baltimore is a hard no. No. It said Browns fans not boycotted nothing. It say y'all might as well let that go. Actually, you're wrong, James. Browns fans have already boycotted. That's exactly why they are making changes, because Browns fans stayed away from those games and were slow to buy season tickets and still might be. So you're incorrect on that one, sir. Shout out to the Browns fans. It said Hollywood Brown left Baltimore for a reason. Who is that? It says It said, I get Eric Bieniemy to coach Shedeur. I bet you Mahomes miss him. Interesting. Please stop moving the goalposts. Right. It said, Harbaugh was supposed to have a black QB but sabotaged him. That's why the trap was set for Shedeur. He failed. That's a good point, Sharon. That is actually a good point. Harbaugh was supposedly pursuing Shedeur, but made sure he did everything in his possible, his orbit, used all of his resources to disparage Shedeur. So he was not the first black first-round quarterback to go to New York. Same thing happened with New York. I mean, with the Browns. They blamed Deshaun. Anybody blaming Deshaun and not asking how he got that contract, you don't want to know the answer. You just want to find somewhere to blame. Kevin Stefanski is not a victim. Kevin Stefanski was an employee. If he didn't want to work with Deshaun, then he should have took himself and got a new job. Kevin Stefanski has no excuse for dehumanizing Shedeur. That had nothing to do with Deshaun. So Kevin Stefanski is not a victim. Instead, he victimized and targeted black starting quarterbacks. That's what he's guilty of. And the only people that are standing up for Kevin Stefanski are a part of his orbit to uphold white supremacy. Absolutely not. You have to go find another sport. AB on that slick stuff too. I said the same thing. I said, okay, I'm not liking what I'm hearing from him. I'm not liking because it's like he's speaking on Haslam's behalf. He still has a job because he is reluctant to name Shedeur QB1. Just like Raheem Morris and Tony Fontenot, that's what cost him his job. I'm just telling you right now. Tony Fontenot drafted Michael Penix Jr. and people are mad at him. I'm like, you don't think that the Falcons knew 30 days before the draft what the strategy was, that they were getting a quarterback in the first round? Like, get the hell out of here, bro. And Michael Penix Jr. is better than Kirk Cousins. So if the owner is mad because he gave Kirk Cousins an ungodly contract, all the owner did in Atlanta was bring in Kirk Cousins to block Michael Penix Jr. That's it. Why would you allow your GM to draft Michael Penix Jr. if you're going to pay? But see, guess what would have happened? They would have been fired last year if they didn't draft Michael Penix Jr. Michael Penix Jr. saved Raheem Morris' job and he saved Tony Fontenot's job, which is why Michael Penix Jr. has a torn ACL and is out for 9 to 12 weeks. When the owner was bringing in Kirk Cousins, he knew he couldn't get the job done. And he paid him an ungodly amount of money so he could stay there and lose, so he could have a reason to fire Raheem Morris, so he could have a reason to fire the black GM. Only black GMs have been fired. Only black GMs have been fired. Only coaches with black quarterbacks at the one. 6 of 7 have been fired. And I'm sure that ball being fired opens the door for another coach to come in and disrupt Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. Talking about they should keep Jameis Winston for 2 years because he likes Stefanski. If Stefanski go to the Giants, that entire situation is going to blow sky high. It's enough dirt over there that firing the scouts they thought was the most that they had to do. Firing Harbaugh was something they felt like they had to do. But they want to retain Joe Schoen. Okay, I will remind you who made that prank call from Ole Miss where Joe Schoen went to college. Look it up. Yeah. So, like I said, these people are playing a dangerous game with the brand of 32 NFL teams with racism rearing its ugly head against black starting quarterbacks because it was such an historic year. And it seems to be that's the problem. So rather than draft and develop and support black starting quarterbacks, they draft to destroy and suppress black starting quarterbacks by any means necessary, including injury. It said this is certainly not a coincidence. Not a coincidence at all. It's not a coincidence at all. It said the Raiders fired Pete Carroll, but Pete brought in his QB. So what happens to Geno? Well, his contract guaranteed, so he's going to be somewhere. $66 million of his $75 million contract is guaranteed. And he deserves that. He just now hit 100 million. Daniel Jones made 100 million losing 6 years in New York. You know how long Geno Smith has been in the league, and he was supposed to be a first-round draft pick. And you know what they did to Geno Smith? Every year they moved him to make it difficult for him to succeed. I didn't have the problem with them bringing Geno Smith to Vegas, but I know they did so they could say we don't need a quarterback, so we don't draft Shedeur. So they tried to pit Geno against Shedeur. People want Dante Moore to come to Cleveland to pit him against Shedeur. Dante Moore, I don't tell you what to do, but you need to stay in school, bro. Or find you a black quarterback-friendly team, and the only one anybody knows of got a black quarterback who headed back to the Super Bowl right now. Watch his playoff game. Let me know if they cheated to try to get Mendoza out, number one. They trying to put Mendoza over Dante anyway. That's why I would just go back to school. Because coming in and dealing with all this racism, bro, it ain't worth it. I'm sorry. You can get the bag in college. They talking about how Texas Tech quarterback made more than Shedeur Sanders. I said, why are you not talking about how Texas Tech quarterback made more than Quinn Ewers? What the hell are you using Shedeur for? You see? I always want to tear down the black quarterback. Never wanted to see them as being fully human. We keep receipts, facts. NCAA need to stop playing, right? Yeah, they playing. They sure are. They sure are. AB needs to stop playing. Yep, he sure does. Because I don't know. I know what he thinking. I know he thinking if he talk the talk, you know, and say, like he said about Shedeur, that his skill set was like kind of retro style. He don't have no classic style of football playing. Nobody out here making these damn throws at Shedeur. So that's an absolute lie. Now you're saying you haven't solidified the QB. You're going to look to veterans. You're going to look in the draft. I don't give a damn where you look. Shedeur Sanders is QB1. But if you go get Mendoza, Shedeur Sanders is QB1, and you build around Shedeur Sanders, and Mendoza can sit on the bench. You want to get the Manning kid next year? Shedeur Sanders is QB1, and the Manning kid can sit on the bench and learn from Shedeur. And if that offends you, you need to go find another sport. Like a white quarterback can't learn from a black one. What the hell is going on here? So if you want to draft the Manning kid, cool, but you don't get to suppress Shedeur Sanders. And you're not going to bring nobody in to sabotage him and think the fans not going to have nothing to say. Now that Stefanski's fired and we can see straight up to the owner's booth, guess what? You're going to be forced to sell your team. It already happened to the Washington Commanders. It could happen here in Cleveland. It sure can. Tell me why it can't. They clearly didn't think the fans would say anything. Well, you're going to be shocked when they say more coming into the season. They already want to start with the racism. The damn season just ended. Matter of fact, it ain't even over. The regular season is over. And they already coming and targeting black quarterbacks with the disruption. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Just dirty. It said, did anybody hear that some of Andy Reid coaches are wanting to leave the team? Nah, I didn't hear about that. That's interesting. That is interesting. Today's black quarterbacks are phenomenal. Right. You know what I heard? I told Ocho Cinco say? Ocho Cinco said, these quarterbacks coming out now, they not generational. There is no Lamar Jackson. I'm like, right, because they don't want that. He called it out. I'm going to have to see if I can get a clip of it. He called it out. He said there is no Pat Mahomes. There is no Lamar Jackson, no Jalen Hurts. Right, because they don't want that. They want to suppress the athleticism. Turn them all into check down keys. Who the hell do you think gonna pay for that? Fans in Cleveland were already disgusted with Stefanski trying to turn Shedeur into a check down king. Fans in Green Bay saw how accurate Malik Willis was and was like, ooh, that's what they don't want. They want you to be stuck with the Dylan Gabriel type at football style. That's what Stefanski want to go to New York with, then have fun, because Jackson Dart is a handful. Jackson Dart going to be a handful for Stefanski. And if they think Stefanski going to end up in Tennessee, that ain't going to work either. And Atlanta, There is no place for a coach like Stefanski. There is no place for a Harbaugh. Maybe if the quarterback is white. Maybe if the quarterback is white. And that's a maybe. I don't know. Because Baker Mayfield was white, but he wasn't dehumanized. But Stefanski tried to run him off because he's not a check down king. So maybe Harbaugh can go somewhere like Minnesota, where the quarterback is white. Maybe Stefanski can go to New York or to the Raiders, where they want to get Mendoza because he's a check down king. So that works perfectly. He don't have to break him down. He's already broken. He only 13 yards per pass on average. So that's what he is, a check down king. Maybe he can go to New Orleans. He can go somewhere where there's a white quarterback because no, we have seen enough racism to last a lifetime coming out of Cleveland at the hands of Stefanski with Shedeur Sanders. Absolutely not. Thank God I wasn't watching in 2024 with Deshaun. Thank God. Because it's just too much. It said we can read the tea leaves over here. I know that's right. NFL, they all fall down. The rejected will be respected. Absolutely. Absolutely. It said a touch of insecure white men trying to control black athletes. That's what it's giving. They just seem like their goal isn't to win football games. It is to suppress the black starting quarterback or the black quarterback. And I want to suppress all of the black quarterbacks so I don't have numerous starters, which is why out of 7 coaches fired, including Harbaugh, or 8 coaches fired, including Harbaugh, 7 of the coaches fired have black QB1s to disrupt the fate of the black QB1. And in Atlanta, they probably not going to want to give Michael Penix his job back like they did Anthony Richardson. Succeeded and took it from him after injury and didn't want to give it back to him. And instead, when Daniel Jones got injured, and Daniel Jones had 6 years to fill up, went and got Phillip Rivers. Anything to keep Anthony Richardson from getting his job back. Let's see if the same thing happens in Atlanta. I thank God Shedeur did not get injured, but it ain't over yet. That is a weapon. Pain, injuries are weaponized against black starting quarterbacks. Washington did not protect Jaden Davis. Harbaugh was finally fired. Yep, Ravens fans are all celebrated. Thank God. I'm so glad they finally spoke up because they should have had enough after that AFC game. It was obvious what was going on. So, yeah, it said John was running racial politics with how he was trying to be the, what's that? What's that, Purnell? What's that? Hey, Blind Beauty, how you doing? How you doing? Oh, how he was trying to play with the personnel. That's exactly what Stefanski was doing. Manipulating the personnel to bench the best personnel, the best players, so only the worst players will play and fail the quarterback. That's exactly what was happening in Baltimore. That's exactly what was happening in Cleveland with Shedeur Sanders. I told y'all Shedeur Sanders and Lamar Jackson, their careers. And you see, they stay together. And now you're going to start adding a third person, whether it's Jaden Daniels, pay attention to CJ Stroud in the playoffs, or we have Cam Ward in Tennessee. Pay attention. Pay attention. They brought in Lamar, some average receivers, and Harbaugh benched them and played his favorites. Even on the O-line, it said he benched the black tight end, Isaiah Likely, who caught that big pass Sunday for, you know what? And I talked about that. When we watched that AFC game, I said, why didn't they throw the ball to Isaiah Likely? That's why you brought Isaiah Likely in. And this conversation is at least 5 years old when they were talking about trying to contain Lamar in the pocket. They've been doing that since Lamar got to Baltimore. I looked at Lamar's stats. Why the hell would you want to contain somebody that plays out like this? He didn't get hurt this year until they try to contain him in the damn pocket. And when he don't want to do it, he gets injured. That's what happened to Bryce Young in year 1 in Carolina. Every time Bryce Young would try to get out the pocket, they would punish him. Now they're punishing Jaden Daniels. Yep, they said it was a report today. Jaden Daniels is not happy they're taking his OC. Right. So to disrupt the team. That's just what it is. That's what they're doing. These are Lamar's stats. Why would you want this man who came in with a Heisman Award? What are you trying to contain him for? You're not trying to contain him to be a pocket passer. He don't need your damn help with passing. In 2018, Lamar played 16 games and was 1,200 yards. His longest was 74 yards. He was sacked 16 times. So once a game. 2019, 3,100 yards. He only played 15 games. He don't need your help. He don't need your help at all. Longest was 83 yards. That's what they don't want. That's what they don't want. That's what they don't want. And every time he try to get out the pocket, they punish him. This is rushing. First year, again, 16 games, 695 on the ground. 1,200, 1,000. This is why they want to make him a pocket passer. Because nobody else is doing this, people. Nobody. Nobody, damn it. We talking 4,000 yards in 2024 through the air. 900 on the ground. This man won his MVP. They took it and gave it to Josh Allen. When free agency came, nobody wanted a quarterback that can throw like this and run like this. This is why Jalen Milroe is buried on the depth chart for 2 to 3 years, because his quarterback comp is Michael Vick and Lamar Jackson. They don't want the game to be athletic, but it is an athletic sport, is it not? It's not that they don't want the game to be athletic. They don't want the majority of the starting quarterbacks that you see on Sunday to be black, playing each other and making you go, ooh, an 83-yard pass, the field is only 100 yards. Everybody can't do that. So they want to suppress Lamar. Everybody can't make the throws Shedeur made. So they want to suppress him. Everybody can't be Superman like Cam. So Cam, can you please be Clark Kent so Dylan Gable can reach it? So Arch Manning can reach it? So Tyler Shaw can reach it? Get the hell out of here. And the fans are just starting to take aware. Wait a minute. Y'all trying to dumb down the game? Nobody's paying $600 for that. And that's one ticket. It said, don't try to make your business my business because I am a businessman. I know that's right. I know that's right. Harbaugh got fired. Yes, he did. Thank God. Should have been fired. Should have been fired. Just like Stefanski. It said these fake narratives about black quarterbacks need to be stopped. Absolutely. Hey, sis, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Is that Bridget? Hey, Bridget, how you doing? When they talk about the teams, they only talk about how good their defense is and act like CJ is mid. They about to do him dirty in the playoffs, right? And that's why I'm going to be watching. So once again, they got to figure out, or you want to hold back Mike Tomlin or you want to hold back CJ Stroud. Because Mike Tomlin doesn't have 2 Coach of the Year awards, but he has 2 trips to the Super Bowl. And they over here asking Tampa's coach, should he be brought back? He talking about what? Yeah. 3 divisional titles. Why the hell wouldn't he be brought back? But what the hell is going on over in Dallas? It's Dak's fault. But Dak put up 400 yards. How is it Dak's fault if he putting up 400 yards? What the hell is going on when you got a quarterback putting up 400 yards? That's like Cam put up 3,100 yards in his rookie year, but they can't win but 3 games. What the hell is happening? Is it Jerry Jeudy playing everywhere? So all of the talk about getting Shedeur more people to throw to. You see what happened to Lamar when they got him more three people to throw to. They went back to Jerry Jeudy, a la Mark Andrews. You already started kick to show you he gonna take the ball and throw it to the cameraman rather than tie up the game so the Buffalo Bills can be tied with the Cleveland Browns while Shedeur Sanders is the quarterback. They didn't want to have that conversation. All they want to talk about is stats. That is so misleading. Let's talk about who Shedeur put up 1,400 yards on. Let's talk about who Tyler Shaw put up his stats on. Nobody. Because they saved the easiest stretch for him and gave Spencer Rattler, the black quarterback, the tougher stretch of games. I don't watch the Giants. I don't know what's going on over there. But I know Cam Ward putting up 3,100, they should have won more than 3 games. And they only won 3 because they didn't want Shedeur to further the playoff hunt for the Browns. Just like the Ravens intentionally lost that game so they didn't further their playoff hunt with Lamar. No coincidence, Lamar and Shedeur in the same division right now. Haslam gonna dig himself a hole he can't get himself out of. He gonna make himself the embarrassment of the Ohio business community. Because one thing about all of this racism playing out in front of our eyes on Sunday in practice and press conferences, there are text messages and communique somewhere on how you really feel. And that's next. Todd Bowles definitely needs to be fired for what he did to Shedeur Sanders, carried out an agenda and set up plan to destroy that boy. It said, I don't know how much he had in it, but what I do know is I knew he was going to be next to be fired. I knew that. I don't know what part he took in it, just like Andrew Barrett, but I think I know now. It said, Sharon said she agreed with you. It said he probably told him he was getting fired and this was his last game. They need to start recycling these toxic coaches. That's why they're recycling them. Now pay attention to who it is. Pay attention to the coaches that are being let go and what, and it's not about the coach itself. It's about the quarterback. Pay attention to the quarterback. Why Minnesota coach ain't fired yet? Who the hell is that coach anyway? Who is Minnesota's head coach? Why he still got a job? People said Andrew Barrett didn't want to commit to Shedeur because, well, you know, it's kind of early. I'm like, well, Minnesota committed to J.J. McCarthy. He has 0 ounce of NFL film, so I don't want to hear that shit. Shedeur deserves to know after the abuse he experienced at the hands of the Browns. He deserves to know that the team has committed to him or they need to be all in or move on. And that's what people need to say. Somebody said it, I saved it. Who was it that said that? Blind Beauty said it. She said, when they talk about the Texans, they only talk about the defense. Oh, it's the other one. You had another comment. Somebody had a comment that said the Browns need to be all in on Shedeur or they need to trade him as a QB1. You're not trading him as nothing less. You're going to respect the fans because that's who pay the bill. So we'll be back tonight. A lot happening here. Again, Coach Prime, I saw a photo with him. A photo with Coach Prime over at CU. And he met the new athletic director. So we'll be talking about that. Then we'll be talking about Shedeur. I have a list of things to talk about where Shedeur is concerned. I started a series called Surviving the Browns. I don't know if y'all saw it, but it's called Surviving the Browns. I already dropped part 1. I already dropped part 2. I guess I'll drop part 3 so y'all can kind of, you know, engage with that because I feel like it's very important to understand that Shedeur had to survive the Browns. He was not welcomed. He was not valued. He was abused. He was plotted against, right? And they are still keeping up the rules with Kevin Stefanski on the hunt somewhere else. So we'll get to see if Harbaugh fails up. We'll get to see if Stefanski fails up. We'll see if they succeed at tearing apart the Washington Commanders. We'll see how much disruption they bring to Tennessee, Arizona, Cleveland Browns, Vegas Raiders, the Atlanta Falcons. I think I already said the Titans. We'll see because, again, that's where you have Black starting quarterbacks. And in such a historic year with 16, just like in college, firing some of these coaches seems to be a way to disrupt Black starting quarterbacks, whether it's the NCAA or the NFL. Firing coaches is a way to disrupt Black starting quarterbacks. I'll see y'all tonight. Thanks for watching What She Said Sports. Thank you for the engagement on this breaking news, and we'll be back at 10:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.